Hi everyone, yasas que kalos to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're going to be making koloki thawed rolls. These are so good, flaky, buttery phyllo that's filled with a very fresh zucchini and feta cheese mixture. Of course, lots of herbs are in there. All made with just very basic ingredients, yet it packs so much flavor. As always, I'm going to recommend that you make a double batch of these because they're so delicious and they freeze beautifully. They're perfect to serve as an appetizer, maybe if somebody stops by and you want to serve them something savory. They're delicious as is, but they're also extra good served with some soup or salad. Let's get started. We're going to begin by making the filling. So for the filling, I have 5 zucchinis here. They weigh close to 800 grams if you want to weigh them, 770 grams to be exact, but you don't have to go exactly by that measurement because sometimes zucchini can be bigger or smaller. But you're going to need a minimum of 5. If you have a box grater, you can grate these by hand. Just make sure to wash them really well and then dry them and then grate them all the way down to the tip. I like to do this in a plate to prevent a mess. If you have a food processor that has the grating attachment, that's perfect. You won't get as tired grating. We're going to season them with a little bit of salt, about a teaspoon and a half of salt. That's going to help flavor them and also draw out the liquid. So I'll transfer these to a colander that's over a big bowl to catch any liquid. Set it aside for about 15-20 minutes. You can put a heavy weight on top, like a plate or two, just to kind of draw out that liquid, because you want the zucchini to be really dry so that way your filling isn't soggy later on. Next, I have some gouda cheese. Gouda cheese is not traditional in this recipe, but it tastes so good with the feta and the zucchini. Gouda cheese is a little bit tangy and adds really great flavor, so I do add it in as something that I like to add in. So you'll need between 6 to 8 ounces of Gouda cheese. If you can get it shredded, you can skip this step. Otherwise, I'll use the box grater and shred the Gouda cheese very carefully. I forgot to put this in the freezer. Lots of times before I grate cheese, I like to firm it up a little bit just so that way it's easier to grate. You can pop it in the freezer for about 20 minutes and it'll make it much, much easier and safer. So that's going to go in a big bowl. And then I have some scallions here, 4 or 5 scallions. Make sure to wash them really well first and dry them and thinly slice them all the way down to the white parts. Those are also going to go in the big bowl. Then 3 eggs, I'll just add those in the side of the bowl and then I'll just whisk them up with a fork just on the side. And now you're going to take one bunch of zucchini at a time and you could carefully squeeze that liquid out, as much of it as you can, and put that in the bowl with the cheese. Once you get all of the zucchini in here, it's time to season this with some freshly cracked black pepper, a heaping teaspoon of dried dill. If you're using fresh dill, you can chop up all the way up to a 1/4 cup of it and add it in here. And then I also like to add some dried mint. Same thing with fresh mint. If you're using fresh mint, you could add a little bit more. But I'm just going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of fresh mint just to brighten everything all up. No salt because we're adding feta cheese in here. So 8 ounces of feta cheese. I'm just going to crumble it in. And as I always say, make sure you buy the block of feta, not the crumbled feta. It's so much better quality. Crumble it in and mix everything all together. The zucchini is already lightly seasoned from the salt, and then you get the salt from both of the cheeses, so it shouldn't need any more seasoning. Mix everything all together, and now we're going to make the rolls. So I have a pound of phyllo. This is number 4 phyllo pastry, the same one that we use to make desserts like baklava with. Make sure you thaw it out overnight in the refrigerator and then leave it at room temperature for a couple of hours just so that way it's easy to handle. So this phyllo is already cut, and that's why I'll use only 2 layers at a time. If you're using the full sheet of phyllo that's not this size, that's much bigger, then you'll just use 1 sheet at a time and just fold it in half to make these rolls. I'll take 1 sheet of phyllo, drizzle some melted butter. I melted 8 ounces of salted butter over the stove top. You can do it in the microwave if you like. Salted butter is really good because it has more flavor. So drizzle some butter over the first sheet and then carefully brush it all around. Place 1 more sheet of phyllo on top, and if the phyllo sheets are torn, it doesn't matter. If they're stuck together, try not to separate them. If you use 3 sheets on some of the rolls, it's totally fine. And then we'll butter that sheet as well. Take about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of the filling and put it on the bottom. Fold the sides over just a little bit and then roll it up to make this roll just like this. And we're gonna keep doing this until we run out of filling or run out of phyllo. Usually we run out of filling first, unless some of the layers are stuck together and you ended up using 3 in a couple of the rolls. We're gonna end up with 15 rolls. Unless you wanna make these smaller, then you'll have more. It's totally up to you. These are gonna go on baking trays that are lined with parchment paper. Brush them generously all around with the remaining melted butter. If you like sesame seeds, you can garnish them with sesame seeds at this point. And if you're making extra, if you're not baking them all at once, you could freeze them and just bake off as many as you need. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And these will bake for 30 to 35 minutes until they're golden and crisp all around. As soon as they come out of the oven, let them rest for a little bit. And then once you cut into them, they'll be crispy and flaky, and that filling will be so cheesy and delicious, and they're ready to serve. And that's it. Just like that, our kolokithopita rolls are ready. I promise you're going to be making these over and over again once you give them a try. Let's do the taste test. The phyllo is perfect. It's supposed to be crispy on the outside, yet there are some parts that get a little softer from the filling. The filling is fresh from all of those herbs. Zucchini is such a mild vegetable that everyone will love it. Kids will love it. It doesn't have that strong flavor or aftertaste that lots of vegetables do. It's perfect if you've ever had kolokithopita in Greece, which are the zucchini fritters that are served at every restaurant. It's almost like those wrapped up in phyllo. So good. They're so cheesy and flaky and delicious, and all the good comforting things that you want in an appetizer. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. You can head on over to the website, dimitrasdishes.com, to print this out and to make it. Let me know if you make them, what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Yes, us.